Hi guys, this is John. I've been in the training industry for the last 20 years. And when we first started the journey, it was very interesting because our job was to facilitate opinions and conversations among our clients. But over the last couple of years, as we matured into the business, I suddenly realized that people were asking for my opinions and my thoughts, which was kind of strange for me until I then finally dawned on me that I've been doing this for 20 years. So this piece, I thought this would be a place for me to share my thoughts and my opinions with you guys. Recently, we've just celebrated Chinese New Year, right? And every Chinese New Year, it's always the period where people give. And you sometimes try to earn goodwill by giving stuff away to homes and shelters and stuff like that. And then coincidentally over the weekend, I read an article that I think was entitled Giving in Order to Receive or something along those lines, where the Bank of America had received an award as one of the best places to work for giving back or something along those lines. So a lot of organizations, they aren't averse to giving back. But for me, the question is, what's the intention behind the give back, right? And whether it's truly given with a heart of sincerity or whether it's given with an ulterior motive in mind. This day and age, a lot of organizations give back because it's tax exemptions. I suppose the more pragmatic among us will say it doesn't matter what people give money, you have money, you get money, no matter what the other person's intentions is, the end result remains the same. My opinion, and this is personal, you're welcome to disagree with it. My personal opinion is that CSR or giving back involves a lot more than just being the person giving over the money or writing checks, even giving donations. As an organization, our belief has always been that you don't have to wait to be successful in order for you to give back. Our belief is that any organization worth its salt should have giving back or making a difference as part of the philosophy of the organization. We've recently committed to this school in Phuket, which is really strange because most people don't think of Phuket as a recipient of making a difference, right? The beaches and the holidays and so on. But there was this school that we had identified that was really struggling in terms of making ends meet because they were catering to Myanmarese immigrants that didn't have an identity, so to speak, invisible in the eyes of society. And the school was struggling because the main sponsor had pulled out for whatever reason, and they didn't have enough money to feed the kids. Because their commitment to the kids was 1 meal a day. We would feed the kids for 1 meal a day in addition to the education that they would receive. And a lot of people then started questioning us. Why do something like this for Myanmarese kids in Thailand when we are based in Malaysia? And our answer was pretty simple, why not? As far as we're concerned, it's a hungry kid. If you can feed a hungry kid, go feed the hungry kid. There is no need to watch for nationality, there's no need to look for what they can give you back in return. It's a hungry kid, for goodness sake, just feed the hungry kid. Part of the DNA of the organization to give back by doing business, rather than to give back if my business does well. So can we now do business in a way that gives back as we do business? I think that's the question that we've got to be able to dissect. I've been in this line for a long time. And in many of our clients, there are always situations where they do try to give back. And I've been blessed because I've been surrounded by good clients who by and large want to give back. But one thing that I've noticed is that by and large, most individuals are very keen, most individuals are very interested in the concept of charity work or volunteer work and so on and so forth. but it's sometimes made difficult by organizational policies or organizational processes, red tape, and so on and so forth. And I suppose that's inevitable in today's day and age. There is this fear of being scammed, fear that the money would go where it shouldn't be going. And therefore, companies sort of put regulations in place, governance into place to sort of manage that as much as possible. But to be really honest, I think sometimes that makes it so difficult for people to give back that it becomes an exercise in futility. I found it really interesting because in the article that I was reading, this Bank of America, huge organization, pumped in tens and hundreds of millions of dollars into CSR, for lack of a better phrase. But what really caught my attention was that they also had allocated 2 hours a week where every employee was free to spend doing whatever they felt was enabling them to give back to society. And as far as I saw in the article, this wasn't managed, it wasn't measured, it wasn't organized. It was just a policy that said, hey, you can spend up to 2 hours of your working time, and that's paid time to do whatever you think will help make society a better place. And they relied on the maturity of the individual to manage themselves or regulate themselves in that area. So it was quite amazing because one of the results that they found was that people were 13 times more willing to come back to work. They were looking forward to come back to work on a Monday if they worked in an organization that allowed them and encouraged them to give back to society, where they knew that the company stood for something. They were more willing to come back to work and they were happier to come back to work. But I think when we overthink it and we have this suspicion that people are not mature enough to handle this themselves, or people will be self-centered and use this freedom to do things that benefit themselves. I think as management, when we think of people in that manner, or we think of our employees and our workers in that manner, that's when the downfall starts to happen. Are we gonna stop all the good that people can do because of being worried of the bad that some people can do, right? And if that's the case, then what's the point? We're going to stop everybody from doing everything and we accept status quo, which is quite sad. Like I said, the philosophy of the company from day one was that you don't need to be successful first and then make a difference. We've always believed that as we do business, you can make a difference. And it's not just about giving large amounts of money away. It's about the way you do business, right? So first, well, charity begins at home. How do you treat your own internal people? Are you treating your own internal people in a way that you can groom them, grow them, develop them, nurture them, and not just give them money, right? Not just a transaction. But now we're talking about as an organization giving to society. Since day one, I'd like to believe that we've always tried to do that as much as we can. And to be honest, in the earlier days, it wasn't a whole lot. But then because we're in the business of people development, we realized that giving brought back a lot more in return, not just to us, but also to the participants who attended our leadership programs. So then we designed our leadership programs to have elements of giving back. And for me, the concept of giving very often brings back a lot more to the giver than it actually does to the receiver. We just don't know it yet. We fail to see the immaterial things that come back to us that are way, way more priceless, I suppose, right? You can't put a price tag on thankfulness. You can't put a price tag on gratitude. You can't put a price tag on touching somebody's life. You can't put a price tag on a kid whose life you managed to change because you did something for him 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It helps, for me personally, helps me to count my blessings. And I like to think that it also helps my team count their blessings. Because and if you're watching this video, then you're probably among the category of people who have more than you actually do It's just that you may not realize it. There is a little parable in the Bible where the poor woman gave 2 shekels and she gave all that she had. And the rich person gave her a whole lot more money. And the celebration was for the poor woman who gave whatever she could, and not for the rich man who gave a whole lot more. I think we discovered that as you learn to take care of other people, you then learn to take care of yourself. So in the earlier days, I remember this one experience. We had to build, as part of the program, we designed the program in such a way that we built a playground for a community that wasn't very well off in the interiors of Malaysia. And we took along all the participants together, and we spent about 2 or 3 days designing, sourcing, and literally building up a playground that the kids could then come back and play on. And that's not rocket science. That's not traditionally thought of as CSR, right? But for me, when I saw the kids playing on the playground that we had built, and the looks on the participants who had helped to build a playground, I think was reward enough. But it was one of the most memorable experiences in my corporate experience. Then as the business grew, we got more resources that allowed us then to commit to more and more things. And I remember a couple of years ago, we took the whole team onto a street feeding exercise. We committed to a street feeding exercise where we sponsored the food, but we didn't want to just sponsor the food. I wanted the team to get involved in the actual execution, in the actual giving away of the food and the dishing out the food to the homeless in Kuala Lumpur. And that also was an experience in itself, because we tend to be judgmental. People like us, middle income, we're sort of sheltered in a cocoon, and it's so easy for us to judge the homeless guy that you see by the roadside. He is so dirty, and what's wrong with these people? Are they lazy to get a job, and so on and so forth. But doing the exercise taught us that the difference between a person who's sitting in a nice, comfortable office and a person who's homeless and starving on the streets could be just one bad decision, or one bad decision by somebody else related in their lives. And therefore, you got to learn to suspend judgment for a while and then extend a helping hand to anybody who needs it, because it could be you. As an organization, I think we consciously make an effort for the betterment of society, and 2, for the betterment of our own internal team members and our own internal people. Well, I'm also realizing that that's becoming more and more important from a corporate perspective, because the young ones, the millennials that are coming out these days, are much more focused in meaning and purpose than we were when we first started work. They want to know that the company that they're working with stands for something good. That it's not just here to milk them dry and squeeze them for all that they're worth, but that the company stands for making a difference, to make the world a better place. And the more conviction they have of that, the more they give to the organization. So it's critical that the efforts for giving back from a company perspective grows and not declines.